All right, man. Knowledge Podcast, episode 2. I am so honored and blessed again to keep this going, man. And we're here in Los Angeles. It's it's a really nice little spot we got here, huh?
It's cute. It's cute.
It's a cool little spot. I gotta give a quick shout out before we get everything started to the Next Layer team, man. You know, Ivan, Raul, Kyle, Ryan, man, just kind of putting everything together. It's a beautiful, beautiful setup. But
yeah, well done, guys.
Yeah, man. So I got to get into this because we got, you know, very, very lucky to get you, you know, to introduce you a little bit. You know, we have, entrepreneur, creative, right, owner, right, but of course, even, you know, and the newest layer, the newest added feature, actor, right, in a lead role, major film.
Yeah, man.
You know, so again, I'm super honored to be here to introduce Taylor Takahashi, man.
Thank you for being here, man. No, it's amazing. You know, just to be here, kind of the full circle moment we've been talking about. And
you know, and I got to start off with this kind of conversation because it's again, it's kind of like NJS, New Jersey Sets is kind of, you know, this Knowledge Podcast is an extension, right, of the brand and about the ways that basketball has kind of brought a lot of things together, right? And so you said it full circle, and we'll get into a lot of these things about how we got here.
Yeah,
and I got to start by saying how amazing this is because I've actually known you without knowing you, right?
Yeah.
Since 2017, I look back.
Yeah.
2017, and you know, going into the brand, you know, I got an email, and you know, I was like, cool, who's, you know, whatever. Just the way
this guy asked too many goddamn questions is what went
so
through
many
your head,
questions,
for sure.
but you know, and I was like, man, you know what? Those guys persistent. Yeah. So I said, you know what? This is what we do. Yeah, this is how much it costs. This is what we do. So real quick, I mean, you know, you got your clothing brand.
Yeah.
And we actually did a bunch of different basketball shorts for you.
Exactly.
And I think that's so cool because, and at the time, it was like, you know, we treat everyone the same. It's just like whoever it is, big brand, small brand, no name, big name, whoever comes across, we try to do our best to help, right? And so it was so cool to see it. And so how this happened was I obviously I follow, you know, the hoop community.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay, this movie looks cool, right? I'm like, you know, so, you know, we'll get into the movie Boogie, right? We're gonna talk about it. We got to get into it. So I'm sitting here, and I'm like, look at this movie. This movie looks dope, right? Eddie Huang, I'm a huge fan of his, and just kind of going. And I'm like, starring Taylor Takahashi. I was like, hold up. So I go into my email, and I'm like, this is the same dude. I was like, no way, I know this dude. And I'm like, that's cool. So, you know, I went ahead and just kind of put the pieces together and just kind of see the journey, right? So I definitely want to know like how it started because, again, you know, you're in a, you know, feature film, you know, lead role, not even, you know what I'm saying, on the like a supporting, man. This is your movie
for sure.
So I gotta know, man. You gotta talk to us about like your basketball story, man. I think it all starts there, and I think from there we can get to a lot of different things. But man, like, what's your basketball story like? Like, tell me what that is.
Yeah. So I mean, kind of what I mentioned to you on the patio a little bit. Like I've been playing basketball since I could walk. You know, a basketball has been in my hands since a young, like, early age. And I fell in love with the game. I didn't really know why. I think for me, it was just introduced, you know, through my older brother. Both my parents played. And it was just always something that it felt like a testing ground. A basketball court was like a testing ground, as well as a battleground, you know, to go against people. And, you know, for me, up until, you know, throughout high school, it was always something that, you know, being a 5'8", 5'9" Asian kid, although there was a lot of Asian hoopers, it was just not a lot of, you know, oh, I want to go get a scholarship. But that was kind of my goal. You know, my goal was to go, you know, play, you know, get a scholarship somewhere, play overseas. And then, you know, when you're a little kid, it's like, you know, you get the slam posters on your wall and you're like, yeah, I'm trying to get one of those. You know what I mean? I want to wear a jersey and make it to the league. And for me, just basketball has been such an important part of my life. And, you know, the court, friends, everything, just the game itself has always been, you know, as I've gotten older, I've noticed that it's becoming something way bigger than just the game. And I had this switch when I was like 20, 21, 22, where it was just like I can see basketball is shifting from this ultra competitive sport for me into something that is going to hopefully, you know, it's just going to be a place where I'm going to foster relationships and build bonds with people. And, you know, it was hard to say, you know, quote unquote, goodbye to the game and stuff like that. But, you know, it's slowly, it's aged nicely for me. It's almost like a wine. But, you know, high school for me was probably, you know, I don't want to say I peaked in high school.
I heard you were kind of nice though.
But
talk on it, man.
Yeah. So high school, I mean, when I came, you know, I had my brother's 5 years older than me, and you know, we went to the same high school, but we had that gap. You know, there wasn't the year where we got to play together. And so I'm kind of coming in and into his shoes, and you know, my brother plays like Steve Nash, Rajon Rondo. He likes to set people up. And so being a little brother, like our backyard basketball was always, you know, shot clock coming down. He kicks it to me. I hit a game winner and we walk off the court, right? It was that almost every night in our backyard. And so I naturally drifted more towards scoring as I did to like setting people up and playing like a true point. And so coming into high school, you know, I got the keys handed to me to just drive. And it was like, we see talent, you know, we're there. But for me, I was always itching for like, I want a coach that's really going to actually like coach me and teach me the game outside of just, you know, my brother or my parents, or, you know, I had other mentors in the game. But it's like, I was so ready to learn without really knowing like you're ready to learn. And it was always just like, we just want you to score. Without you, you know, without you scoring, we're not really going to compete. And so, you know, my freshman year, I made the JV team. I was all hyped and you know, juiced. And then halfway through the year, they bring me up to varsity. And they're like, basically, we just want to, like, culture you. You know what I mean? Get you used to, like, the speed, get you used to the physicality, right. You know, so you're not wide-eyed when you actually step out there. And I'll never forget the first game I played my JV game. So half the year I would play my JV game. I would after the game go change my jersey, and I get right back in warm-up lines for the varsity game. And
I had never seen like people double dipping like that, but that's dope. Just for context, we're in Alameda High School.
Alameda High.
Gotcha.
Alameda
so if anyone
High.
doesn't know, that's in the Bay Area. It's kind of it's in the east part. So it's near Oakland.
It's near Oakland, but it's not Oakland.
It's not Oakland.
We self-proclaim ourselves as South Oakland. There's West Oakland, there's North Oakland, there's East Oakland, and we're South Oakland.
Kind of the nice part. Let's just keep it
exactly. Keep it real.
There you go. But
go
ahead.
So our school was known for like baseball. That's what kind of like the city and the town of Alameda is kind of like a baseball city. They Little League sports, all that is huge there. And so basketball is kind of like, it's like the ugly stepchild, you know. It's like no one talks about it.
They don't get the funding, huh?
No,
okay,
no. It's straight up no funding. But yeah, so you know, coming in, and it was like, you know, freshman year. I'll never forget. We played Richmond, and Richmond had this dude Wyndham McClines, and his name was Eli. I forgot his last name, but Eli was like 6'10". He had a scholarship to Indiana. One of the nicest dudes I've seen like live, just on a court, and just to be like, wow, like I'm just watching. It's like, wow. Wendell went to, I think, USF or UCSF. Legitimately, like, he was kind of like the Zion of the Bay Area. Not as tall, but just like a physical, like, specimen where you're just like, yo, this dude is 6'6", probably got a 40-inch vert, you know, 220. And he's just like, he used to, the rumor on him was like he used to lift before playing, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
he didn't care about his jumper at all.
Yeah.
Get to the rim,
just lift, and you're just like, yo, you just bulky. But just watching them as athletes, and it was just like, wow, like this is a whole. That's the first time I've seen like a difference between like a junior varsity game and a varsity game, and it was just like, you have a lot to learn here, you know. And so I did that for half the year, and then come my sophomore year, it was basically just like, you know, it's your team now, you know. And our starting five was two sophomores and 3 juniors, and we had 5 seniors on the bench. And they were like, we're literally just trying to build y'all for that next year. Y'all get chemistry, play with each other, you know, do what you do. And my sophomore year was probably my best year scoring, and it was just.
What would you average?
I averaged, I think, 20. At one point, I led the league at 28. And it, I think, eventually dropped down like 22 to 25, something like that. But I was really out there at like 5. I was the same height, a little skinnier than I am now. But I was really out there just like getting buckets. But
was it recruiting? Was it like college recruiting at that time, like when you were getting into like senior year and stuff like that?
Senior year, I got some looks. I remember at home, my mom, I came home from school one day, and there was a letter from Stanford. And I was like, Mom, scholarship in there. And I was like, just joking. I open it up. It's a letter from the coach at Stanford saying like, oh, we we're interested. But, there's a list of all these classes I had to take. And I was a junior. And I was like, well, shit, I'm in like geometry. You know what I mean? But they're asking me for like, AP, they're asking me for some calculus. And I'm like, nah, it's just not going to happen. But it showed me just like the standard of what like Stanford athlete, athletic scholarship is going to take. And it was like, wow, this is a lot. Like this is a lot that it's like a whole nother ball game. It was like, oh, I thought I was just be good at basketball or get a scholarship. You know what I mean? But it really hit home, the school portion of me. And like school was never a big beacon for me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a system or just like the days, but like I was allergic to school for sure. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I got looks, but my main thing, I had San Francisco State, I had like San Jose State, East Bay, kind of that whole little Bay Area
Bay community of hoops
nucleus.
They knew about you.
Yeah. And I was like, I just want to get out. Like, I don't want to be here. I want to get out of here. I want to, like, when you're 17, 18, you're just like, I want to get out the house. Like, Bay sucks.
Yep. Same story, man. I grew up in San Francisco. So in South City, as soon as I graduated, I was like, I'm out of here. That's why I went to LA. So is that a similar story? Like, you're just like, I'm out of here.
I was like, I'm out of here. And I went down to San Diego. I went to a community college. There's 3 community colleges in San Diego. There's Miramar, which is the one I went to. There's like San Diego City, and there's one I think like Mission Vieja or something. Like there's
Did you play there?
And so I played at Miramar. So I get there, I move down here. I'm with one of my basketball teammates. We move into an apartment. We get all set up. And I came probably like 3 weeks before like school had actually started, and it was like optional to come, but it was like free open run basically for the basketball team. And so I come, kind of doing my thing, kind of scoping things out. And like, I'm not like one that's like, oh, I'm going to show up and like, if things don't go my way, like I'm going to quit. Like, I'm not like that. But I show up and I was clearly better than the starting point guard. I'm just going to put it that way. And I was just like, I'm getting limited looks and limited minutes because the community college system is like, you're a senior at your second year and they want to get you out, right? So they're trying to get you looks. And so like as a system, it makes sense. But as a player, I was like, I can't grasp that like I'm better, I'm doing what I need to do, but I'm not getting the time just because, I'm technically underclassman, And so I was like, I just don't vibe with that system. And it was like the first time in basketball that I dealt with like, I'm the better player and I'm doing everything I can. And I'm not getting, not necessarily rewarded by that, but it's just like, I'm not getting the opportunity that I think I'm like setting up for myself, but it taught me a lot, you know what I mean? And it was important to go through that. And I ended up moving back home because I was like, this isn't it. I'll do something back home. I don't want to waste money just being down here. And so I moved back to the Bay and dealt with, foot injuries, ankle injuries. And, I don't want to get too deep into the I was injured bag, but I legit have I still today my left foot has a Jones fracture in it, and it's just like a hairline fractures right in the midfoot.
It won't ever heal, huh?
It won't ever heal.
It's just kind of, you just gotta either play through it or just kind of give it up. But you're still hooping though.
Still hooping. I will forever be hooping. Hooping is just exercise wise is just something for me that like it's therapeutic to be out there.
It'll never get out. Like, we can't get rid of that bug. We're always going to want to hoop, right? And so like coming down here in LA, kind of speak on this because I heard the story that, leading up to how you got into the movie. Is it true that, you were just playing pickup ball or playing in some of these rec leagues out in Monterey Park?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's kind of how it all started. Kind of like speak on that, man. Cause I think that's like a really interesting story about how basketball really just kind of brings things out. And like, you can find a lot of ways of your life through this game.
100%.
Kind of follow that path down. So
100%.
Yeah. Talk on that.
Yeah. So I'd been down here for probably like a year and a half in Orange County, and back home in the Bay was always a hoop league. It's just like Wednesdays at 7, or you know what I mean, like Thursdays at 11, or Sundays at 10 o'clock in the morning. Like I was always on some type of basketball run, and for me, it was there's one part that's basketball. And then there's another part that's like the social aspect to it and the people you meet and, bonds and friendships you get to form with it. And so when I moved down here, I didn't have that. And I was like, I'm really missing like that portion of life. Like I'm very happy. I'm settling down. I'm comfortable here. But I don't have a basketball league, and that's kind of like pissing me off. There's only so much like going out to the park and shooting around that I really want to do, you know, and I'd rather just, you know, I'd rather go play for an hour and run up and down the court. And so I hit up my friend who had come down here for USC for undergrad. He'd been kind of set up, and he was like, I knew he played, and I was just like, where are you playing at? And like, how can I sign up? Like, where do I got to go? And like, I don't have a team. I don't have like 7 people that want to run, but like, you know what I mean? But like, I got some skills, you know? But he was like, yeah, no, we're playing in this league, Monterey Park. Like it's cool competition. It's just Sundays. It's fun. He's like, I know it's far for you. It's like an hour drive. But like, we'll make a day of it. You can come hang, you can chill, you know, we can grab food, we do whatever. And so I had known that Eddie had played with my homie before, but I had no idea that he was going to be on the team. And so the first day when I show up, everyone's, you know, I walk into the gym, we're the next game on, everyone's on the baseline, putting their shoes on, getting ready. So I meet everybody, and the last person I meet is Eddie. And same thing, like as a, you know, I told him, I was like, as a fan, you know, I'd watch Swang's World, I'd watch the Viceland show, I watched the original Fresh Off the Boat on YouTube. And I'm just like meeting this person that like I've kind of, you know, not idolized, but it's just like, you know, I've understood a lot of what he's communicated to me.
Yeah, you relate to him. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about his work is like a lot of us can relate to it in so many ways.
100%.
So he's hooping on the team.
He's hooping on the team, and so I shake his hand. Yeah. And the first thing I wanted to ask him was just like, you know, I want to talk about food. I want to talk about, yo, what was Istanbul like? You know, what was this like? And really like dive into it. But I was like, it's also Sunday at like 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, I'm sure he's not trying to talk about that. You know, he's just trying to play basketball. He's here with the team. And so I was like, if he's going to be my teammate and, you know, I'm not one to push on that, like I'll get my opportunity at some point to talk to him about food and basketball and life and whatever. You know, I could really get into that.
Real quick, I know Eddie's a big Knicks fan. So who is he? Is he Anthony Mason? Is he John Starks? Like who is he?
He's Mark Jackson. He's Mark Jackson for sure. A little shimmy. He's got that like old post game because at his age, he's just like he knows himself. Like, he's got a high basketball IQ. Yeah. So he knows he's not gonna beat you with speed. But, you know, he's got like, I don't know, he's got that old, wide body that's just like, you know, I'm going to back you down. I'm going to try to wear you down.
Hey, those Monterey Park Asian leagues, though, is an Asian league, right?
It is. It is.
It's got to be because I used to play in those all day. I mean, shout out to my wife, Jackie. That's how we met, actually.
Okay.
So we met at playing ball in those Monterey Park leagues there. Yeah. But, yeah, man, I mean, like, I had to ask because, like, you know, it's just a casual run. But from there, it's like you guys started playing ball and it kind of like led to a friendship, right?
It did. So we started playing ball, and then it turned into like now I'm part of the fantasy team that's, you know, the fantasy league that goes in there. The team that go, you know, part of the crew that go gets food after. And we just really started to hang, really. And about, I think like a year, I think I've known him for like 8 months at this point. And he invites me to cook at a Crazy Rich Asians DVD release party. And of all things.
So side thing, you're a chef.
I cook. Yeah. Cool. I won't call myself a chef. Okay. I just
you don't want to disrespect.
If anything, yeah. You know what I mean?
Right,
like I enjoy food.
Right.
I'm probably the best prep cook in like sous chef in the world. I'll say that. But I ain't a chef. You know what I mean?
But it's all about the prep, man. The preparation is
there
key.
To just learn.
Cool. Really. So he invites you to cook at a pretty big party, man. It's probably gonna be like A-listers there and all that whole stuff.
It's like it was for all of the studio executive people, and they were just celebrating like, oh, our movie's on DVD, I guess. I don't know. But there was two seatings of about 80 people, so like 150, 160 people that we're cooking for. And so he invites me out, and mind you, when I met Eddie, I thought like 90% of his bag was through food. I had no idea that he was so deep into I'd read his books, but I had no idea he was into the entertainment and writing a movie. I had no idea at all. And so for me to be in the kitchen, like I always remember I came home, I like FaceTimed the homies and was just like, yo, boys, like I was in the kitchen with Eddie. Like this was crazy. He taught me how to make this, and this. Like y'all got to come through and like, let's try it. Let's eat. And him and I look at food and basketball very similarly. We see the bigger picture in both those worlds, and understanding that like when you play basketball with somebody and how someone plays basketball, we can kind of see how their tendencies are going to be as a person, as a human being. You know, someone who is going to take the ball and kind of be, you know, the selfish, you know, jack up every shot. You know, we're like, okay, probably a selfish person. It's his tendencies. You know what I mean? Like how you play is usually, it can kind of speak volumes for how you are as a person. And same thing with food. Like you can only be in a kitchen with people when it's hustle and bustle and things are crazy. Like you really have to rely on other people. You know what I mean? You got like 6 things going on, and there's like, you know, shit's on the fire and something's over here. You got to plate this, and like it takes a certain person to pair up with and to understand. And the saying of like there's too many chefs in the kitchen is really true, because like when you have so many opinions there, then it could just become scrambled eggs. Like it could just be and it doesn't work. Right. And there's people that understand it's the same thing as basketball team. There's a role. And I'm okay with being a helper, a sous chef. I don't need
6 man.
I don't need to come in and be like, this is mine. You know what I mean? And I respect people that do come in. They're like, this is mine. And I want to respect, you know, this is their food. This is what they want to taste like, their reputation, the whole nine. But we basically met through food and basketball. And that's how we kind of built a friendship. And, you know, fast forward, I do another event with him for Union, the little clothing store, men's boutique store. And, you know, he brought me in. His mom and dad came in. It was just us 4 cooking. And, like, that's my first real introduction into, like, Taiwanese culture. And food has always been a way for me to connect with people. And it's like that universal language. And after that event, it was December 2018. And he calls me after the event, and it's just a Wednesday, and he calls me, he's like, what's up, man? How you doing? Like, did you have fun? I'm like, yeah, you know, shit was really fun. Like, I appreciate you, you know, inviting me, and, you know, the whole nine. And he's just like, yeah, man, like, you know, it's like 12:30, and he's like, yo, man, like, I think you'll be good at anything you do in life. And I was like, you know, thanks, Eddie, but like, you know, what's really good? You know what I mean? Like,
what you need, man? You need a favor, bro?
Yeah. I don't know. What's next? You know? But he was really just like, yeah, like, you know, I really think you'll do well in life. And, you know, have you ever thought about working in the entertainment industry? And I was like, nah, like, hell no. I don't even know what I would even do. Like, what do you want me to do? Right. So he starts telling me about it, and he's basically like, you know, would you be interested in becoming, you know, my assistant and working with me on the day-to-day? And at the time, I had just signed a lease back in Costa Mesa. I did not want to be in LA. Like, you know, I didn't want to live in LA. It was going to require me to move from Costa Mesa to LA. And I was like, this is just a lot going on. But I also see like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like here we are, you know, fast forward, same thing. Met this guy through basketball. We develop a friendship. And then all of a sudden there's an opportunity to now work with someone that you've looked up to. And it's like, no doubt about it, I know I have a lot of logistics to figure out, but like, I got to do that. Like, I got to do that just on some like life leveling up. And so beginning of 2019, I moved from Costa Mesa to Koreatown. And I started working with, I just showed up at his house every day, 8 or 9 o'clock. And just, you know, my desk was his dining room. He had his office, and we literally were just back to back, just working with each other. And, you know, he taught me so much about the business. And, you know, just, it wasn't a traditional, like, you're my assistant, I'm your boss. And he told me that from the jump. He was like, it's going to be different. We're friends, and there's going to be times where we need to separate the friendship. And like, he's like, you know, I'm still working on navigating that, and it's going to be an ongoing process. But it's a way for me to kind of teach you, you know, everything that's out there. And he handed me the script of Boogie, you know, that winter break before I even accepted the job. And it was like 130 pages, and ended up being like 90 something.
Did he give you the script, like, read this, like, this is you? Or he gave it to you kind of like, hey, hold this for me? Like,
he gave it to me.
Assistant, hold my stuff. You know?
He basically gave it to me. It was just like, this has been a dream of mine. I wrote this. You know, I don't care if we do anything else in 2019. All I want to do is make this movie. It's been a dream of mine since a little kid, and like, that's all I want to do this year is make this movie. And he was like, I don't care what we got to do, but like, this is the direction. So I want you to just read it and just understand it and just know the story. And like, this is going to be an ongoing thing throughout the year. We don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but like, this is kind of our beacon that we want to get to. And I was like, cool. I'd never seen a movie script before. Never knew what it looked like. Never knew how to read one. And I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to read it. Like, I don't know what to say. And he was like, just send me notes. And so my first note back to him in my email is like, Eddie, this kid is me. Right. And I thought it was so dope that someone had written a script about an Asian kid playing basketball. And it reminded me, you know, my first initial thing was like, it just reminds me of like, you know, all the basketball movies I can think of. You know what I mean? Like you just start to think, and like I didn't know all the hip hop stuff was gonna come in there and all that, but it was just like I see this as just such a cool moment. And the fact that you have written this and you have started, like this is dope. And so I sent him notes about the whole thing. Like I knew what I was talking about with the movie script. I just made some stuff up and sent it to him in an email. And, you know, fast forward, he'd always joked to me about like, hey, I think you should do this. I think you should read for this part. I think you could play this kid. And for me, I'm a pretty laid back and chill person. I was just like, no way, man. Like, you know, being in front of a camera, doing the whole movie. It's your first movie. Like I could be on.
I'm not going to mess this up for you kind of thing.
Yeah. Like it's a respect thing. Like you're finally going to, you know, potentially have this opportunity. Like I'm not the guy for that. And he slowly kind of chipped away at me, but he was just like, yo, I think you should do it. I think you should do it. And I was like, if you want me in the background, like on the team, I got you. You know what I mean? Like I got you. I can make the basketball kind of realistic. You know, I got you. Be another Asian kid on the team. And he was like, fine. And so, you know, fast forward to June.
He's pressing you. He's
pressing because we get the green light meeting with the studio. And so at the time I'm assistant and I set up the presentation for what we did. I'm meeting these executives at the studio. And all my job was to just hit the right arrow on the keypad for like the next slide. Right. We go through this meeting and the pitch meeting, and, you know, 4 days later we get a call back, and him and I are just in his house, chilling at the table, and he gets the call and the movie gets greenlit. And it's just sitting there, and like I'm just so happy for him. Right. This is something that it's been like 3 or 4 years in the works. No one wanted to buy the script, and like you know, that's a whole nother set of Hollywood.
Who wants to buy a story about an Asian basketball player trying to make the NBA? Like, it just doesn't. No one's gonna make this movie. Like, and that's what's crazy about, like, kind of just fast forward to it. It's like, whoa! Like when I watched it, and it was like, same thing like you said when you read it. It's like, damn. That's me. And it made me mad. Maybe I didn't have the same like potential in high school, but that mentality.
You know, like a version of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, you know,
mentality
it's not the same journey as Boogie, but it's like, you know, a subsidiary version of it.
Exactly. And everybody can relate, whether it's Japanese, Taiwanese, Filipino, any type of, you know, Asian, you know what I'm saying, person. That we know that story.
Exactly.
And the fact that like Eddie got to tell that story, and you got to play the, you know what I'm saying?
That's what's crazy, man. That's what's crazy.
And, you know, going through your life experiences as a Japanese American, how did you relate to, because you didn't play a Japanese character. But like, obviously there's relations there. Like, how did that play a role into just your upbringing and being that guy, like being Boogie? Like, what part of your childhood was like super easy to like correlate, or even was like hard to, you know what I'm saying, to match up with that character?
For sure. I think for me, being a fourth generation, you know, Japanese American, I didn't deal with a lot of the like the disciplinary stuff that I feel like a typical immigrant kid might go through.
Right.
First generation immigrant kid. And doing the movie allowed me to learn more about that. I was aware of that experience. Like, I have two of my best friends, you know, come from immigrant families. And like, I saw it. Like, I saw it's not like I saw them get, you know, spanked with bamboo or nothing like that. But like, you know, we would talk as kids and like, you know, you observe and, you know, like when you go to like your friend's house, it's like their house runs a little bit different than our house. Not that it's bad, but it's just like that house is different. This house is different. And you start to see kind of the different intertwinings of everything. But for me, it was more just like, basketball was never my parents were never like, don't play basketball. You know what I mean? It was never that conversation of just being like, you want to play basketball? Like, what? You better give me 12 good reasons on why you want to play. You know what I mean? Which I feel like
happens in a lot of other households.
It does.
It happens in, almost
it does.
Any type of, even if it's not basketball, it could be a creative outlet. You want to be a photographer or whatever.
An art form. They're like, what? No.
You're not going to go to medicine?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Be a nurse or, you know what I mean? Whatever. So, yeah, no, I get that. So you were encouraged, though.
I was.
In this sense, so
I was encouraged to just not dedicate yourself to something, but like, you know, push for something. Find something that you enjoy, and push for it. And, you know, there's crossovers within the journey of just being, you know, an Asian American and navigating, you know, a journey through basketball and, you know, understanding the road bumps that come with that and the lessons that can be taught, you know, through the game. But it really just, the experience allowed me to learn about, you know, another person's culture in such a a different way, you know, and kind of doing the live action of doing a movie role, but then also just kind of like understanding like why someone's kneeling to apologize.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like why we, you know, talk to the ancestors, why we do this. And it gave me more of a baseline of stuff that like I didn't have much time with my grandparents, you know, here. And if it was something that like I could go back in time and do, I would love to just be older and spend more time with them and just, you know, really download from who they are and what their origin story was.
Yeah.
But this experience kind of dually just maybe, you know, I had foundational pieces that get handed down, and it just kind of further deepened my knowledge within like, you know, hey, that is something that you can believe in. Yeah. That is something that could be a foundation, a pillar for what you want to do. And it was more so recognizing the similarities as opposed to being like, damn, that's so different. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow. We really do things like very, very similar to each other. Yeah, and it's pretty amazing.
And I love like with regards to the movie, man, I think the most important thing about it for me, watching it, is that it's a teaching moment in a sense of, especially just what's going on in our culture right now, right? Society wise, there's a lot of kind of hate and anger and really all that's really attributed to is just ignorance, like not knowing. And so when you come across a movie like this, basketball or not, you're learning about Asian American traditions, immigrant stories. These are very super just important stories that our culture and society needs to see.
100%.
Like, yeah, regardless if Boogie gets a contract, it's not about that. It's not about, it's just about that, like the reasons why.
Yeah.
And there's so many parts in that movie that I just love to see because it's, there's probably kids emailing and reaching out to you. Like, damn, like, you know, have you gotten that kind of fan mail or that like love outpouring of like, dude, that is me, or thank you for showing me that this can be, you know, a possibility.
100%. There's kids that are, you know, my IG DM box is crazy. You know, there are kids that are like, oh, I just saw Boogie and this, you know, this meant X, Y, and Z for me, and like this is huge and this is major, and you know, congrats, I'll always be a fan. And it's just off of pure, just like seeing an Asian person, you know, up there. And you know, for me, if I was younger and I saw this movie, this would be really important for me. It'd be important as a young kid to just see like, damn, like there's a although very apparent to me growing up in the Bay Area, and same for you, like an Asian hooper wasn't like a, you know, it wasn't a like, damn, that guy's Asian in hoops, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's too many of y'all almost, you know what I mean? You guys are all over the place. And so I think for a kid that just grows up that, you know, may feel alienated or may feel different or may feel just out of place, or, you know, trying to figure out the grounds of what they want to explore, I think it's a cool thing just visually to see. You know, wow, you know, there's someone that looks like me and is, you know, doing something that I enjoy. And it doesn't even have to be like the basketball portion, really. It's just really just seeing, you know, an Asian face that's just like, wow. And my stories is all just normal. I'm a normal ass dude, you know what I mean? And you don't need to be super, super exceptional in order to do exceptional things. Yeah.
And that's really like an inspiration, because in a lot of times it kind of goes back to, you know, even just like the journeys that we're on, right? We're all on different paths, but then whether it's food here or whether it's, you know, apparel or different things, you know, the common ground that we all exist in is just kind of this basketball, it's like love of the game. And so like, that's why it's super important that, you know, I tell homies too all the time, like, don't stop playing ball. Like, you know, that's when you kind of give up, you know what I'm saying? You know, we got to keep it going somehow.
Yeah, you got to keep that fire going.
Got to keep it going, because it just allows, and that's what we try to pass on to like kids and our kids. And you know, whenever I do coaching or whatever like that, it's like, you know, I'm not saying make the league. Yeah. Obviously, you know, you shoot for the stars. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But through that, it's like, man, you can learn so much through life. You meet people 100%. And you get to work with so many people. And I think that's like such a dope story to see, because then in learning about your story, Eddie, and then seeing it on screen, man, it's like, I just text the homies and my brother, kind of similar story. I have an older brother. He played ball and he kind of had like, you know, a bigger basketball experience. Like he was getting recruited and stuff like that. And, you know, he got to play against like, you know, back in the days, he was like going up against like Keith Van Horn and guys like that.
Got it.
And so as a little brother, I was watching that and seeing that. And then it's just kind of like other homies who've gone to the Philippines to play. Right. And there's like a little bit, and not really a spoiler alert, but there's kind of like, you know, in the movie Boogie, there's a whole, kind of a challenge about like playing here or playing overseas.
Yep.
And from the Filipino perspective, we don't have that dream to make it here. It's happening a little bit slowly now because there's a little bit more players coming out, but it's like, oh, just be good enough to make it in the Philippines.
Go back
and
to
play in the
Philippines.
PBA.
Yeah,
That's kind of the thing. It's like, so everyone's goal was to like bring players there. And growing up, I was like, yeah, that's dope. Like I went over there just to try out because everyone else was trying out and like, let's go see, you know, like let's just see what's up. And I like to say that because, you know, the goal is to kind of like, you know, like let's shoot for bigger. Let's try to make, you know, the NBA. Let's try to get here. Like, I would love that. That's why, like, I don't know if you follow like NCAA, right? There's who's a kid for UCLA, Juzang.
Yeah.
Right?
That kid is nice.
He's nice. He's a bucket, man, and he could go to the league probably now because he showed out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so, but yeah, I just think the opportunities of seeing that face and relating to that. It's all about representation, man.
It is.
And I think not a lot of people can see it, but it's changing, man. And I think movies like Boogie, your role, and just like even you as a person, because all of it is extensions of us.
It is.
And so it's like, yeah, it's a movie role, but I really feel it from a sense of like, this is you and your story. It's like, you kind of just help tell your story in a way.
Yeah. It's really just kind of like about goddamn time. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I really felt. And when I did the movie, I didn't think about like, damn, this is, you know, this is such a big moment. This is this. It's kind of just like, I got to focus on that art form. So now being able to sit back in a chair and see how it's all kind of shaping out, it's like, wow, I knew it was always bigger than me, but like you never understand the gravity of how big it could be. And now it's starting to kind of blossom and nourish, and you're just like, wow, this could really turn into something. And this could really be a moment. And if we look back in 5 to 10 years, like this was part of that, you know? And it's like, not to be like, oh, that was me. That was, you know, that's my movie. It's like, nah, like this just really kind of just, we turn the oven on, you know what I mean? And I really hope that it gives a voice or a power to other creatives to now start telling the real authentic stories. And, you know, for me, not just because I'm a part of Boogie, but being that, you know, observer, that third eye on the wall, when I first got the script, it was just like, you know, my head went to like, oh, that's me. But it's really just like, there's finally something that's not your stereotypical Asian male lead that's happening here. Like, it's the dude is not a doctor. The dude is not a scientist. The dude is not a nerd. The dude is not a kung fu guy. Like, this is legitimately a character. And it's something that, like, I'm like, about goddamn time, because it's just like, we're involved as Asians. We're just involved in other stuff. We're not just in these boxes. Not all of us are super good and have comb overs and, you know, or super rich, like Crazy Rich Asians. You know what I mean? Like, that lifestyle is not relatable to 90% of us, you know? And to see something that is relatable on so many different levels is what I think is kind of the best kind of art that we can put out there, you know, at its purest form, because it's authentic. And I wouldn't, without any real acting experience, I wouldn't be able to play anything else besides just an authentic character, because I had to just tap into, like, what was it like when you were 17? What were you like when you were 16 or 18? And, like, you know what I mean?
You know, it's like, crazy, like, thinking about it. I mean, you're not a trained actor, right?
Nah.
So, like, about that, it's kind of, you know, you just got to be thinking about, this is me. I just got to be myself. Right? So how did, coming from the Bay Area, you know, was there anything about like being from New York that you kind of had to add to there, or just more or less like, not just kind of it was kind of stay in your pocket?
Yeah, it was like, don't do the fake New York accent thing. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of be you. And it was really just buying into the fact that, like, being you actually can portray this character pretty well. You know, and like, that's what's crazy is, like, when I think about it now, it's kind of like Eddie indirectly wrote this script almost about me. You know what I mean? Now you didn't write it for me. You didn't do anything of that. But it's just like, I couldn't have written a better thing for myself. You know what I mean? Like, this is, maybe I changed it to California over New York. You know what I mean? But like, other than that, like, this is literally something that is, like, no pun intended, tailor-made for me. Like, it is legitimately, you know, something that, you know, Eddie usually takes the words out of my mouth and something I want to say and says it the right way. And it's like, this is literally something that I don't think I could have written myself. Like, it's just a perfect kind of glove fit. And understanding now that, like, all my friends that know me, they know basketball version of me, they know regular me, they're like, yo, no one else could have played this but you, man. Like, you got to really understand that. And there's a very handful of people that,
and that's
God
given. That's God given. I feel like, you know, there's so much sometimes we're on our paths and there are signs, and when you read them and you pick them up, it really shows that, hey, this is really what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. I'm supposed to be telling these stories. I'm supposed to be creating this art or doing this thing, speaking this, because that's too much. Like, it's so, it's
too many things lining up,
and too many things, man. I mean, and again, it's just kind of like, it's really important movie. I think it's an important movie because I don't know if you're ever going to see another Asian American basketball movie like that. And I don't know, man. I mean, it could be the start of something, but I don't think it's going to be. No. I think so. In a way, it's history. I would say that. Yeah.
And that's so crazy, man.
Like, I have to say something, and I don't want to go too much into the movie because I don't know if it's like a spoiler alert thing, but man, there's a lot of digs at Jeremy Lin, though. I will say
there is.
I will say, and then at first when I started hearing them, I was like, kind of, wait, what? Like, but once you watch the movie and once you start to feel what the message is, I think it makes a lot of sense. But like. Being Asian, we kind of we hold those moments. Yeah, like Linsanity was such a moment for Asians. 100%. It didn't matter if you 100%. Were Taiwanese, Japanese, Filipino. We were like, hell
yeah, something was going on.
It was the most amazing like week or month or whatever, however short it was. Of basketball for me is just like that was like forever etched in my mind. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, but I will say, like, in the movie, there's a couple digs at him, in a sense of kind of like. So I want you to talk about that, like, in terms of the Asian American, what we view them as, or what that message is like trying to come across. I think, what I'm saying, without really giving too much about the movie.
I think the big thing is like we don't want people to like this movie just because we're Asian. And like, oh, there's an Asian person, and like you get super bright-eyed, and it's like, oh, like, I'm just gonna watch it because he's Asian, or I'm gonna watch it because like it's an Asian story. It's like the same thing with Jeremy Lin. It's like we all enjoyed Linsanity,
right?
We all enjoyed seeing Asian representation in the league, but I'm not just gonna automatically be your biggest fan just because you're in the league, And for me, as when that was happening, it was kind of just like, damn, like this could be our guy. You know what I mean? Like this could be our one guy that could, have a spot in the league, and, from the Bay, like
exactly
pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Like what better story? And all that I really remember outside of him having that week or month or whatever, the stretch of the Linsanity, was all he talked about was Jesus. And just like, I thank God. And I have no problem with that at all. It's not saying I have a problem with that. It's just like, you could be such a big voice for us as a community, and who am I to say now, sitting here and being like, yeah, you got to speak up. And if you don't speak up, then like, we don't like you. You know what I mean? But it's really just like the moment was there, and the jab at him is just, in the movie, I don't want to give it away, but the jab is just like, yo, man, like all you talk about is Jesus and nothing about culture, nothing about, anything that could have been kind of the introduction, you know what I mean? Kind of could be what, Boogie could be for the culture, you know what I mean? And it's just like, that could have been a moment. And, I don't hate the guy, what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
But it's just kind of like, yo, man, like that was something that I think as a movie, it's just like, we don't want you to show out because it's just an Asian story. Like there's a real story here. There's a definite authenticity, streamline that is present.
Yeah. And
whether you're Asian, you're black, you're white, there's something that you can relate to in this movie. Yeah. You're an immigrant, you're a basketball fan, you're from New York. There's just real characters getting captured.
And that's the thing. It's like, go back to New York basketball movies, right? Above the Rim and or any other kind of New York, basketball movie. Now that's the cool thing about it is that you're just seeing it through an Asian lens in a sense, but the issues, the problems, whether it's racial, whether it's just like, whatever, issues, it's global, man. It's anyone, global. Like you said, anyone can relate to it. And I think that's what's really dope about it. But seeing it through that lens is important. And it's kind of just going back to the Lin thing is like, I think that we are in a different time. Yeah. Right. And so,
wait, hold on. Were you a fan of his?
Of Jeremy Lin?
Yeah.
I was a fan of that moment.
Okay.
But like, I don't want to say like I don't have a Lin jersey.
Yeah.
I got tons of jerseys. I don't have a Lin jersey, but like I ride with it because of that moment of what it represented. It just represented the underdog. But I go back to I do agree with that's why I said when I first heard it, I was like, But when I saw what the story was, why that was is important because, like you said, at that time, because I say we're living in a different time, I don't feel that I feel like sometimes they may suppress your voice.
Yeah.
And maybe he was kind of like, don't speak on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or maybe, you know, but now the way that our society is, it's like, it's being uplifted now and we can speak about it, right? So now there's like different platforms that we have, and it's more, honestly, it's more encouraged to speak out. Now I feel like if you're not speaking out, it's in a way.
Frowned upon.
Exactly. It's like, well, you have nothing to say?
Yeah.
It's like, but just a few years ago, you wouldn't dare allow us to say these words.
100%.
And so that's, I think, is kind of just more of a cultural shift too. And maybe just kind of, you know, I don't know. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't really, I was watching it for the spectacle of it.
Got you.
And just the representation of it.
Got you.
Like, the Asian kid dropping game winners? Like,
Yeah.
You know, but not really thinking of it in a sense of like, oh, I don't really watch. Like, I didn't realize he was only saying this about that. But I know what I know. But I know the message. It's like as we elevate, right, as a community, from different, as we uplift each other, and now that there's, you know, globally, it's like this kind of, there's a lot more hate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they don't understand us. They don't understand your story. And so that moment could have been like, man, you should have just spoke up a little bit and helped them understand, you know, what it is. And so that's where I get what but that's where we're here now.
Exactly.
That's why Boogie is here now. That's why, you know, maybe these platforms that we have and we can share these stories because they need to hear that.
They do.
Kids need to hear those stories.
And respect to him now, like he's kind of, he's speaking out on stuff. You know what I mean? And so like, it's just kind of like, you know, okay, hey, maybe he wasn't ready. It's cool. It's cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter like when it happened. It just matters that it happens, you know? And like that's the best part, I think, about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's probably like, you know, that's just growth, man. I mean, who knew that was going to happen?
100%.
Like
100%.
And so now we're in this times where I was going to ask you, like, you know, now that you're kind of sprung in the spotlight, lead actor, I'm sure is a lot of different projects coming up that are just like, whoa, coming your way. Like, is a lot of stuff. What's next for you, man?
Things are coming in. Things are flowing in. For me, it's like understanding there's a launch pad in front of you, and it's really just like you're gonna hit that launch pad, and it's up to you how high you're gonna jump off that launch pad. Technically, you don't really have to go anywhere if you don't want to, but should you want to, there's something there. And I think as this continues to grow and kind of fester, and, you know, during COVID times, it's a little different and a little weird, but it's like as this continues to grow and fester, you know, there's things that are rolling in, and it's just about thinking about what's the next best move, you know? And for me, my mentality rolling into it is carrying the same like willingness and openness that I had to do something that was, you know, something I never thought about acting a day in my life. Never even had dreams of like, damn, it'd be cool to be a movie star. It was really just like, I'd never have given this more than 5 seconds of thought, you know? And to flip that on its head, to go through the whole experience, it was just like, you know, you have to get in touch with yourself. You have to know yourself really well. You know, I think to portray a character. But really it's just like, I learned so many lessons and things about myself doing this that like, I don't think I would have gotten those lessons had I not done it, you know? And so now going forward, it's just like, I'm seeking those next steps. And it's like, damn, like, you know, I never saw these lessons coming my way. What are the lessons are out there? You know what I mean? And just remaining open and seeing, you know, hey, I'm going to hit a launch pad, and I want to make sure I move forward with it.
Yeah. And I think that's like super important in anything that we do as people is we could sit there and talk about things and dream about things. But really, I think unless you do them, mess up and succeed or whatever, you gotta just go out there and do it. And I think that's like one of the reasons why we've started this show, this podcast, this evolution of the brand is like, we've done that. We want to keep going and show you that you could do more and be more and kind of step up and be, you know, and have an awareness for yourself and also share that voice, because a lot of people can relate to it. Yeah. And I think that's just like what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling from a lot of different brands, from different people. Yeah. And again, it's like, it just goes back to that element of kind of owning yourself and owning your voice and owning your space and being that, you know, that element, you know, and really we got that's
amazing.
Yeah, we got some fans. They want to know the story too.
She heard downstairs. Yeah.
She's like, I love these guys' stories, man. But yeah, man. No, I'm just super inspired by the journey and how basketball is kind of always the root of a lot of things, that positive things that happen in our lives.
100%.
And from running a little jersey shop, little jersey company, from you reaching out to, we can make some stuff for your clothing brand.
Yeah.
And then, you know, fast forward a couple years later, after a couple projects, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and so we see each other and just kind of elevating and growing. And so it's just a beautiful kind of like, kind of mesh and meeting of the minds. And just kind of like, you know, we help each other build, man.
100%.
And that's like the one of our favorite things is really helping small brands come up, big brands, and do their thing.
And like, I don't know if other people have told you, but like being a small brand, we'll just call myself a small brand.
Yeah.
Like everyone that I had talked to previously was always just like, don't do it. That's like they're like, I was like, what, can I get some advice? Like there was a sick little shoe shop that used to be in Alameda called District. And they used to carry like streetwear and all this stuff. And it used to be like the most fire shop. And the dude that owned it was always there. And like the first thing I was just like, dude, I want one of these. Like, how did you do it? What's your story? And he was basically just like, don't do it.
Don't do
it's
clothes.
It's hard. It's too much work. It's hard. My best advice. And it's probably really good advice. Like, don't do it. Like, it's a lot. But it's like, as a kid, you're just like, that's not what I want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear like how you did this because I really want to do that. Yeah. And so when you have someone like yourself that can cultivate and understand like, young brand, new brand, I'm going to treat you the same as I would the NBA. I'm going to treat you the same as this. I'm going to treat you the same as any big box, any big name, any celebrity, whatever it may be. It's really comforting to just know that like I'm getting the same attention to detail as said person. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't matter who you are in your face.
Because you emailed me like 38 times a day. Right,
like, yo, what's going on, man? What they looking like? Is the color cool?
What's the progress, man? Can I see the
yeah.
But that's the beauty and the attention to detail that we want to put into our products, into our
just care.
It's important, man. Because so like real quick, man, I definitely want to like kind of real quick. There was a point you were talking about your brand. And I want you to kind of the brand is called Ototo, and it stands for
little brother.
And so kind of just quickly talk about that real quick. And I just want to hear about the brand formation, its essence, and then kind of like where it's at right now and what, you know.
We're in the young, like we're in like the baby steps kind of section of life here. But really, you know, the logo and the meaning of it is really just my experience. You know what I mean? And like being that little brother, being able to, you know, have, you know, actual little brother, but just having mentors who've been 5, 10, 20 years older than me kind of take me under their wing and for some reason want to show me, you know, either the bigger thing in life or the bigger thing in the situation, and teach me these lessons is I've always felt extremely, extremely grateful. And there's only so much of like, thank you, I appreciate it that I can tell someone before I'm just kind of like, there's another way for me to kind of pay it back. And you know, going forward, I'll find another little brother for myself to then hand it off to and let it do its thing. But it's like being able to creatively process and go through a creative process and using clothing as that medium has always been just something where it's like that I get to kind of be myself there. You know what I mean? Like this is something that I own. My thought process on what I've put out is just straight up looking at my closet, just being like, what do I need and what do I not want to pay for? You know what I mean? I'm tired of paying $60 for a shirt that doesn't fit me right, you know? And I know that I'm not at that step yet, that level of being like, you know, I'm going to custom make everything. But that's the growth. That's the growth that you go through in life. And like, I wouldn't want to step out and the first thing I have is a cut and sew brand. And I'm figuring all these like small little logistics things out.
It's the process.
It's like, you got to go through the ugly growing stages. You know what I mean? And that's just like in life, like you got to go through hard lessons. You got to go, you know, run through walls. You got to take the leap of faith a little bit. And it may not be always what you wanted on that other side, but that's growth and you're going to learn from it. And I've almost learned more from a bad thing than I have from a good thing. You know, like the good thing is the adoration and the positivity that comes from it. The bad thing makes you take us 2 steps back and reevaluate like, wait, I can't be misstepping that way. You know, I got to really have a thought process in how I'm going to attack that, you know? And so the brand is a way for me to connect back to my love of sneakers. I love shoes. I'm kind of done collecting per se. I kind of just have like the hits that I want, but like having that experience of waiting out and camping out for shoes and understanding, you know, what they mean in the moment was just a cool way for me to, again, be, you know, I feel like I'm diving deeper into the basketball culture as well too, and I'm interested, but it's a way for me to just have some inspiration and then communicate it and to go through the process of sketching something out and just being super high and thinking of ideas and, you know, like, you're just
send
like,
me those random sketches on. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I tell everybody that it's like, dude, you don't got to be a perfect designer. You don't even have to be a designer. I'm not even a designer.
I mean, either
in that sense, but you know, creative minds and stuff, and it's just, you got to get that word out, that voice out, and that idea out. And then when it comes into a tangible product, into something you can wear and share
and hold
and give and just kind of tell, I think that's like the biggest point about it. And that's what I love about just kind of seeing, you know, not even just being an Asian brand or just being an Asian, you know, leader of a brand or of a creative or whatever it may be, but it's just that, like, we're starting to see that there's so many of us that are usually behind the scenes, that are running creative direction for a lot of big things.
100%.
And so, you know, that's kind of the thing that you were saying about Eddie, right? Bring it back to him about, I thought you just did food. I thought you just had Bauhaus and these shows, but like, why are you really in this thing?
Yo, he really showed me, like,
right.
You know, he told me, like, we're going to do, like, most people's year is like, you know, this is what their year looks like. Like, I do probably like 3 to 5 years in a year. Yeah. And like, I didn't, at the beginning, I was like, I don't know what you talk about. Like, what?
Yeah.
A year's a year. But literally, I saw him go from like hosting an event to, you know, photo shoot to this thing. And it's just like, this dude is just nonstop. But it shows that you can have your hands in all different buckets. You know, you don't want to spread yourself too thin, but it's like, you also
want to sell yourself short.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can do all this stuff. And
100%.
you just gotta, you know, be mindful of it, be attack it, and be happy, be positive, and also just like learn, man. And that's what's inspiring. So it's like, man, just kind of hearing the story and kind of understanding that, like, that launch pad is right there. And it's like, you know, we're gonna come back to this conversation in a year, 2 years, 3 years, and it's gonna be like, damn.
You remember when we talked about that? Yeah. You was doing this.
Yeah. Now you're like, nah, I'm too big for you now.
Yeah, not even. I'm a big person on, like, I hate when, even when I played basketball, I hated when people were like, man, you're so good. Because it's like, what do you say to that? Like, you're just like, thanks. You know what I mean? But it's like, you know, it's almost like a weird thing with the success. I'm just very like, when the movie came out, all the people that were around me were all my childhood friends from 4th or 5th grade. And it was just like, I duly kind of wanted to celebrate, but it was more for like, they were like, man, your movie's out. Like, it's crazy. And it's more like, that's a celebration for y'all. And like, I need y'all around selfishly to just remind me and ground myself again of just like, this is where you come from. This is the people you have around. And this is all you really need. You know what I mean? You don't need all this extra, you know, glitz and glamour stuff. You know what I mean? You're not cut from that cloth. And don't try to change your fabric to fit in that way. Like, that's the biggest thing that I've seen in I guess, Hollywood. Is like, you can really just carve your own lane. And you can trailblaze it. You can do things this way, you could do things that way, but like, it doesn't have to be so far off the cuff that it's like this next best thing, but it's like, you can do things your way. And in life, it's kind of like, if I could go through life doing things how I want to do them, with respect and with, you know, the traditions and the pillars that come from my family and culture, then it's like, that's all I want to do, because that's putting that out there without it being like smashed in your face. It just being, this is how I do things, and this is our tradition, and this is our, you know, this is our culture. It's just like, we're going to slowly introduce these things just by naturally doing them. And people will recognize. Yeah,
I love that, man. It's just about taking our traditions and passing it forward and doing it our way, man. And I think that's like such a big thing with me personally. And then I see that, you know what I mean, with this journey of yours, man. And so I'm just grateful for this opportunity, man, that we can sit and rap about this.
100%.
You know what I mean? I think, again, you know, Boogie is out. You could stream it. I went in Amazon Prime, I believe. I got it. You know, so
run that up.
Run that. You know what I mean? Support. Watch it. It's actually, you know, it's a really important film. I think it's important for a lot of different reasons. And so watch it for yourself, man. You know, Taylor, talk. You know, run it through. You know, some last words. Tell them where you can find you. Brand, the movie. What's next? Just kind of, you know, give me one last like.
The brand is ototoclothing.com. Right now, I swear to God, I'm just like a glorified, like, back of the t-shirt, like back of the van t-shirt guy. Eventually we'll switch over. Everything will go to the site. Everything has kind of moved right now off of like word of mouth. And like, everybody's support is, I'm so grateful.
That's how everybody starts, man. That's how it starts. And so, You know, I think that's important.
It's cool to do like some old world shit in this like super technology ass world. You know what I mean? But it's like cool just to like, it's literally just been, you know, word of mouth, through texting, through friends, through posting, and it's kind of grown organically. And it's like, we'll take the next steps, and next steps are in front of us. And we'll continue to, you know, distribute and tap back into, you know, basketball and street culture and just stuff that's inspired me. But yeah, I mean, I'm in Orange County. If you guys want to pull up and play basketball, it is what it is. You know, if you want to challenge me, it's cool. You know what I mean? I'm ready.
2-on-2. Me and Taylor.
Yeah. Meet us at the park. You know what I mean? We'll roll one out.
Put your money up.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But yeah, man, it's just continue to do stuff, and you know, hopefully, we can get back together again and have another conversation in the future. Man.
We will for sure. Again, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, man, and good luck with everything.
Thank you, bro.
Yes,
I appreciate you for having me.
That's right.
Thanks.